Hey, welcome to another HEX video. I'm Jake Freedom, and in this particular video here we're going to be looking at how does the HEX turn work, specifically the actual phases and what you can do within the phases of your given turn and what do all the phases actually mean. The first phase we're going to talk about is the ready phase, and that ready phase there is actually divided into two parts. The first part is where your cards will ready. They'll ready if they were exhausted prior, meaning they attacked or blocked, or they did something to exhaust them during your previous turn. Also, during this time, during the actual the prep phases, which is the first part of the ready phase, is called prep phase. Also, during this time is where your resources will replenish, and that any text on the cards themselves where it says at the start of your turn, this will happen. The second part of the ready phase is your draw card phase, where it just draws a card out of your given deck. So let's actually take a look at the actual game here, and we'll see that the opponent is at their end phase right now, and they want me to pass priority back to them so they can actually end their turn. And as you'll see here, the resources are a little skewed right now because this guy here, I gained one extra resource by giving him by activating his ability here, and which exhausted him. But what you'll see here, when I pass priority back, or when I pass priority to him, he gives it back to me. This card will ready, and then my resources will replenish. It'll actually go to 3-3. But if it was at 2-0, it would actually go back to 2-2. So let's go ahead and do that, and you'll take a look to see how that actually works. Alright, so it's my turn. There's the prep phase. There's my cards. They ready. Now, in the prep phase, we haven't drawn our cards yet, but as you can see, the resources replenished. They actually took the one away because this guy just gives us an extra one for that turn. So the resources replenished. The cards ready. Now, right now, I could activate his ability again if I wanted to. That's one thing you could do in the prep phase. If I had any cards down here that I could play, like, say for example, like a murder card or some type of action card that's not a troop or anything like that, I could play those right now if I had the ability to. So after you go through your prep phase here and you do what you can do, you haven't, like this case here, I don't really want to do this because it's not necessary for me to do it right now. I'll just go ahead and pass priority. He'll pass it back. Then it goes into the draw card phase immediately. It draws my card. Then immediately we're into the first main phase. All right, so moving right along here, right after your second part of your ready phase, you'll move right into your first main phase. And during your first main phase, you can play any number of troops, artifacts, basic actions, constants, and you can use powers on the cards if they have the ability to do that. You can use your champion power, and you can also play up to one resource card. So let's go back to the board here and take a look here. And what we got, we are currently in my first main phase, as you can see here on the phase wheel. We can see we're in the first main phase here. And so right now we have the ability, we can play the resource cards, we can play the troops here. We have some quick action cards. You can play quick actions or basic action cards. Our champion power is available to be played right now. So we're going to purposely not play a resource card during our first main phase. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and play this troop. And then also, since we still have the resources available, we'll go ahead and we'll play Wild Growth, and he actually targets a troop, and we'll target him. We'll accept that. Okay, so we're still in our first main phase. We still have 2 resources left to work with here, and we could do another Wild Growth if we wanted to, so let's go ahead and do that as well. And we'll go ahead and target one of the Battle Hoppers. That's a 0-1. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and we'll activate our champion power, which also creates a battle hopper. And then we'll go ahead and continue out of our main phase. Okay, and that's our main phase right there, and it immediately brings us into our combat phase. All right, so immediately after we continue past our first main phase, it drives us right into our combat phase, and here you have the ability for one last chance to play cards and use some non-basic powers before your attackers are declared. Now, going back to the board here, what we can see is we have a couple cards that are lit up in gold that we could attack with, but we know that this Battle Hopper here can attack. I mean, he can, but he's not going to do any damage because his attack is actually 0. So the only attack we actually have is this Battle Hopper here, who's got some buffs done to him. We can attack our champion with that. Now, if I didn't play both of those wild growths during our first main phase, I would actually be able to play one of those right now and buff him before I actually declare what attackers I'm going to use. So in order to declare attacker, we'll just go ahead and click on him. And we have nothing else we can do right now, so we'll just go ahead and click attack. Priority gets passed to the champion, and then comes back to me here. And again, we pass priority back. They're in this phase here. It's declare attack priority, declare defense priority. So we'll pass priority back to him for declare defense priority. He'll pass it back, and then we go ahead and just assign the damage there. And that there is the end of the attack phase. Okay, now what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the other side of when we're being attacked and how those phases actually work there. So right now, as you can see on the board, the opponent is attacking me, so he's declared his attackers and he has passed priority back to me. And during this time here is when I can play, you know, non-basic cards, or if I have anything left that I can actually do, I can play those particular cards here. And what we do is we do have a non-basic card we can use. We can use quick action cards here. And this quick action here was target troop gets permanent +2/+2 and crush. So if he was directly attacking, like if I was blocking one of his troops here, and I wanted to give an action, play this action card on my troop there, I certainly could. But we're not gonna do that here. And what he's got on the board here is he's got a Thunderbird out in the chain here. Basically, what it's doing is when he attacks, he's going to get Rage 1. So when he attacks, his attack power after he attacks will go up to 2. So it'll be a 2/1 card here. So right now we don't have anything we can do in this particular turn here. So we'll go ahead and we'll pass a priority back to him. And we'll pass it back again, since what we're doing is we're just passing priority back after that card there took effect. And then we'll come into our declared defense. And in your declared defense phase, you can choose, you know, any of the troops that you have ready. You can block with any of those troops here. So I have four ready troops, so I could choose all of these troops here to block with. And as you let's see here, as you do this, you can choose multiple troops to block, you know, the same card. Doesn't matter how you want to do it. You can block whatever priority you want whatever priority you want to actually block in. In this given instance here, I can block these guys. Like I could block that troop with this Battle Hopper here. It'll prevent damage to my hero, but 1 damage will be assigned to my Battle Hopper here. I won't be able to assign any damage back. So my Battle Hopper would die. His particular card here would still live, since I can't assign any damage. And basically, that's what's gonna happen with most of these cards here. But what we can possibly do here, it looks like we're only going to probably be able to get rid of 1. So we can take this Halloween Brave here, and we can select him to block. We have to block him, since cards with flight can only be blocked with cards with their flight, with flight themselves. So we'll just go ahead and leave him alone, and we'll block this guy here. These 2 troops, they'll deal damage to each other, and they'll both pretty much cancel each other out. Right now, none of these cards have any special abilities. They don't have Swift Strike, Life Drain, anything like that. Swift Strike is probably the only ability that I'll bring up right now. And Swift Strike it'll attack first before your troop actually attacks back. So basically, both of these cards here are 1/1s. Well, he would deal damage to me first, killing me, or wiping this card off the board before I would have a chance to actually deal damage to him, so his particular card would actually survive. In this particular instance here, both cards will cancel each other out, both of them will die and leave the board. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to declare those blockers there, and we'll go ahead and click block. And then we come into our declare defense priority, and we can't do anything here. We'll just go ahead and pass priority back. Actually, you know what? We could actually do something here. What we'll do is, this is where we could play this Wild Aurora. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and buff this card here. It'll go up in the chain. This card will get buffed. Now he's a 3/3 with Crush. So now this card will not only survive, it will also do 2 damage to his champion since it has Crush. So go ahead, pass priority. Now Crush is supposed to deal damage to the champion. Crush. If this troop assigns more than fatal combat damage to all troops blocking it, the rest will be assigned to the defending champion. That clearly did not happen, so that could possibly be a bug there. So now, after the combat phase there, it rolls right into his second main phase, and that's what we'll go into now, is we'll go into our second main phase. Alright, moving right along here, we are now into our second main phase. Basically, the second main phase is exactly like your first main phase, except the only difference is if you played a resource in your first main phase, you are not able to play a resource in your second main phase. In this case here, we don't have any resources to play anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But if we did have a resource and for some reason didn't play a resource in our first main phase, we could do it here. But we can play any particular number of cards that we want to, just as we could in our first main phase, as long as we have the resources available to do so. So it looks like we have 7 resources available to us. So what we'll go ahead and do here is we'll go ahead and play the 2 command towers here. And they'll buff all of our troops to +1. And we'll play our second one. And they'll buff all of our troops again, +1. So now instead of having the 0/1 battle hoppers, now we have 3 2/1 battle hoppers that really didn't cost us a whole lot to get. I mean, they did cost us some. And whatnot, but now we have, instead of just troops that we can use to block with, now we have these troops on the field that we can actually deal damage with. So after that, that's pretty much all we can really do there. Like I said, it's exactly like your first main phase, except after you continue past the second main phase here, you obviously don't go into a combat phase, you immediately go right into your end phase. So we'll just go ahead and continue here to end our second main phase. It immediately is going to roll into our end phase. Now in the end phase here, during your end phase, players can play quick action cards and use some non-basic powers. Once all the players have performed the actions they want to take, you move into your wrap-up step. Basically, during your wrap-up step, if you have any more cards in your hand than your maximum hand size, which would be 7 cards, you'll go ahead and discard them. Then all the damaged troops are removed. After the wrap-up step is over, the next player begins their start phase. So we'll go ahead and pass priority back here, and you'll quickly see up there that it'll go to discarding and all that good stuff, and then basically right back into the prep phase of the opposing player's turn. So in a nutshell, that is the phase priorities, or the phases and the turn sequence in a hex turn. Obviously, we didn't go into great detail and depth on what you can all do in the given turns. It just kind of gives you a brief overview of how the actual turn works. If you want to check out the turn sequence document, you can go to the hextcg.com website. I'll put a link in the description below, and they have their quick start guide there. And I believe on page 10 or 11 talks about the actual turn sequence itself, and you go ahead and read through that. And that there will give you again a brief overview of how the turn works. They don't go into depth on what you can all do in the given turns. So you can take a look at that, so you have some type of reference for you. So other than that, we'll go ahead and end the video here. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and click subscribe and give a thumbs up if you liked it. Go ahead and leave a comment below, and I'll have another video for you soon.